Hey guys. All right, so just moving along here. I wanted to start with the device kind of sort of partially reassembled so you can kind of see what we're looking at. I think I know that I've been saying that I was gonna put the TNC inside this module, but there's really not enough room in there without mangling up the internals, so I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna double side tape it to the outside. That lets us see the LED on the TNC as well, which is cool, and have access to the reset button, which is also cool. You can see here that this stick cup is pushed out. I'm going to show you why, but this does give you an idea kind of what it's going to look like here. One thing we're going to have to do at the end of this, you see how these two pieces come down to pinch that rubber gasket, that rubber stop for the factory USB cable. We're gonna have to cut just a teeny bit on top, just on the top of that, so we can fit this ribbon cable through that connects to the TNC without biting into it or cutting it. So that's gonna have to happen. But anyways, let me show you this part now. So we don't need the main device anymore. I'm just gonna put that off to the side. By the way, what you don't see, oops, fell onto my chair. Oh, come here, little feller. All right, so what you don't see off to the side is I've got my hot glue gun heating up. Go ahead and just do that if you have one. You can use whatever glue you want. I like hot glue for a few reasons. It's not corrosive. It holds well enough for our purposes. And if you need to get it off or redo something, all you need is some rubbing alcohol. So if, let's say, you use too much glue, or you did this mod and you wanted to change something about it, a few weeks or a few months later, you just disassemble to this point, or to whatever point you can disassemble to, and you dunk the whole thing in rubbing alcohol, and that hot glue just comes off, right? So that's why I like it. If you use super glue or epoxy, it's very permanent, and it's not forgiving of mistakes. So that's why I like hot glue. You can use whatever you want, but just know I've got my hot glue going off to the side here heating up. We're going to use it in just a minute. So what I want to show you right now is how this LED body, I'm not sure what else to call this, attaches to this faceplate, and why we've got the cut pushed out, because we're going to need to make another cut here, and I'll show you what that looks like. So this is supposed to go on like that, and it does so by feeding this post, come on, focus, by feeding this post into that hole right there. You can see that. The problem, let me get a pointer, that might be better than my fingers. The problem is that this corner extends too far and hits the lip, the edge of this cup right here. So what we need to do is trace and cut just a little bit. So that's why I've got this cut pushed out, so it clears this, so I can kind of see where that line is, and we can look at that together, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I'm just gonna partially reassemble this thing. So see, I've got it in, and you want to get it as close to assembled as you can, because the finished product, for cosmetic purposes, there we go, I just had to snap it in. For cosmetic purposes, you want all of these lines to be flush. So get it in as far as you can. That's why I've got the cut pushed out. So get that snapped in, push it down so it's flush, and then you can see kind of the line right there that you're going to need to do. So what I'm going to do is take my template and my pencil, and I'm going to hold the template kind of over where we need to go. It's about right. and then trace it with the pencil. So it looks like that it's going to come right up to the edge of that hole there. You want to preserve as much of the plastic, the original plastic, as you can. So oops. Looks like that's about the line. So the way that the pencil angle is, I know that I can cut probably right up to that, but not consume that line, if that makes sense. If any of you have done any woodwork or metal work with saw blades, you know that generally speaking, when you're cutting material away, you have to account for the width of the saw blade. And I know that we're not using a saw, we're using a Dremel with a sanding drum, but the idea holds. You don't want to consume the line with your cutting element. You want to cut up to it, do some fitting, and see how much you need to remove. That will keep the cut clean, will help keep it clean, and it will help you minimize the amount of material that you remove. So we're going to follow the same principles. I've been building barn doors with a miter saw, and so all that's on my head. So I'm just going to remove everything from this box. We can disassemble this. Right there. I'm going to put this off to the side. So in the Tartarus V2, this right here is the PCB for the LEDs. I'm going to leave it in because I feel like I can hold it back, but if it makes you feel more comfortable, just go. It's just 2 screws. Just take it out so you don't hit it with whatever cutting implement you're using. But I'm comfortable enough using it, keeping it there. But you can see how close that line is right there. And I'm gonna sit down with my Dremel and Dremel that away. I've been watching my videos and just to try to see how I could improve the format, and I talk a lot. I'm wondering how necessary that is. Part of me thinks that just keeping the amount of detail is important for people, but I don't know, it feels like a lot. All right, I'm gonna hold this how I need to hold it to see it, and then I'll show you the results similar to how I did it last time. So I'll try to keep the center camera if I can. A little faster. Again, we are melting as much as we are cutting, so just keep that in mind. Come back and pinch off what's kind of melted with your fingernail or with a knife, just so you can clearly see what you're doing. I need to cut my fingernails. Wow, dude. Hygiene, man. I tell myself I let my fingernails grow for guitar, but then I don't play, and it's just kind of a sad joke. We are really close now, so I'm just gonna take it really slow. Again, same concept. I'm not wanting to remove more than I have to. really close there. I need a little bit more, I think. I'm gonna hit it like this though, to remove some of that lip. I want to try to fit it really quick and just see where we're at, because I think that's pretty close. Oops. Just gonna push that back in. Yeah, I think I did it. See if I can get this to snap without breaking anything. There we go. Did it. I wonder if I can get if that's visible. Yeah, you can see. So, yeah, you can see that. So there's still some meat there, which is what you want. You just kind of removed a minimal amount. So that template, again, is optional. It's an optional buy for you, but I recommend that you do so. It's super duper handy. Anyways. So what we're gonna do now, how did I get that out the first time? I'm always afraid of breaking those tabs. Always afraid of breaking them. Did that come loose? Yep, there it did. Okay, sweet, off to the side. So, I've marked that gold line is up on the stick, and that gold dot is where the original up arrow was for the original D-pad. So what we want to do now is kind of glue down the stick into the cup. So part of the cup design is this hole right here and these two holes right there. I designed those specifically for you to be able to shoot glue into the bottom of the stick to hold the stick in place. Because right now the only thing that's holding it in place are these legs, and for use you don't want that. So just make sure that push down, make sure it's well seated. And I'm going to bring the hot glue gun over here. We got some glue. All right. So just kind of put the nozzle there and hit it. Shouldn't take much. And if you wanted to, you could also hit the 4 legs, just to kind of, you know, keep the thing in place. And like I said, the cool thing about this is if your pressure is off, like I feel like mine might be, it's not a big deal. You just dunk the whole thing in rubbing alcohol, and then it comes right off. It's not a big deal at all. No, I think that's actually pretty good. Move this Dremel out of the way. We don't need it anymore. And you want to wait to glue this down until you've got everything soldered and tested and kind of fitted. So I've waited until this step to do this part. All right, here we go, and that's it. If you wanted to also kind of flatten down these wires and also glue them so they don't move, you could. I'm not going to do that because I find that Again, these are delicate, and sometimes during reinstallation, I find that I break them. Once you get everything reinstalled and nothing can move, the wires are okay. But these points where they're soldered onto these legs are very delicate. So glue, kind of folding these down and then gluing them will help keep them in place. And we're going to have to do a little bit of that, but I prefer not to if I can help it, because it makes it messy if I have to do a repair. So just, you have to balance security versus ease of repair. That's just something you're going to have to decide. So let me get the PCB out, because we need that part. That guy. And what is the screw that went on that? I believe it's this and this. Really, we could be doing this. You know what? I'm going to put those back in the container. I'm going to take this out of the box. We don't need the box here anymore. And it's just messy. Bye, box. So I keep all my toothpaste, all my tooth powder tins. I believe it's these two. I believe it's this screw, because I think that these screws, I don't remember. I'll have to go back and watch my other video. I think this one with the bigger head goes into that post right there. I think. We're going to find out. Just pay attention to when you disassemble it. So, just so you know the orientation of these things. These wires are gonna go like this, and they're like that. So when you put this guy on, make sure that you're routing these correctly. So the first thing I want to do is push this all the way in. It should snap. And be careful, because I've broken these before, and you have to super glue them back on. It's a pain in the butt, so try not to do that. I'm always a little bit paranoid about snapping this back into place and removing it. There, okay, that was fine. The ones on the orb weaver are a lot more delicate for some reason. They made them that way. This collar goes like that, and then this board will go back in like this. Somehow, some way. But I'm just trying to get an idea before I fit it, because I'm going to have to. There we go. That's how you do it. There it goes. Because I just want to see how I'm just kind of dry fitting, because all this is really tight, and you want to make sure that you've got things routed correctly. So I want all these wires here, and again, be very careful with this part. I want all these wires to be kind of joined together. And flatten them down with your finger if you can. So here comes the next part. And this is iffy. This is where you have some decision making. Because when we cut this hole, we removed 2 or 3 screw posts. This board does not have the same stability that it had from the factory, though it doesn't need it necessarily, because all this board needs to do is support this button, which goes up, which feeds that. And it's got a screw post right there that's really close to it. So probably there's enough stability. If you wanted to, you could kind of get this in place. Like that, dry, and put the screw in, not all the way, and then shoot some glue in between there to make sure that everything is good. Now what that's going to do is that's going to keep this in place, and it's also going to keep your stick cup down. I'm also going to give a very thin layer of glue kind of around here. You know what I'm going to do really quick? I'm actually going to do that. But first, before I glue anything, because like I said, once you do that, it gets really messy to repair. I'm going to make sure, I'm going to plug this up and make sure that the stick is still working before I do that. So I'm not looking at repairs. Because sometimes you've been handling it and messing with it as much as I have. You can break wires and not even necessarily be aware of it. So I'm just going to plug it up really quick and make sure we're good still. All right. Take it off camera for just a second. Ideally, you guys would see this, and I wouldn't keep it to myself, but this was unplanned, so sorry. And the button. All right, yeah, I'm still working. All right, so I'm gonna glue this down. I think this is the most secure way to do it. And since this is not my device, this is for a customer, I'm going to make sure that it's secure, because if he has problems, he's going to mail it back to me anyways, and I can deal with the mess of this. So it's messy because you're gluing stuff, right? You get glue on these wires. If you have to resolder one of the lines, it's a pain in the butt. But anyways, that's not his problem. That's my problem. Let's put this back on. You definitely want that there. Definitely want that. So that's kind of what it looks like before I put the board on top of it. Okay, let's feed that screw in right there. Not all the way, just a little bit. So this is your chance to make good and dang sure that everything is lined up. The ups markings are aligned. The stick is pushed all the way in, because you've only got a few seconds to work with this. I'm going to back this screw off a little bit more. So what you want to do, so you only have to do it once, is put a glob of glue there onto the stick body, onto the bottom of the cup, and push down on this thing into its, so it pops into its thing, pops into its holding leg. Need to back this out more. There we go. And here we go. Not a lot. That's enough. All right, so I got that in. And I'm just holding that until it kind of cools. I'm pushing down on the top onto the lip of the cup so that it's pushed. You want the cup pushed all the way in, and it's going to lift the board up a little bit, but that's fine. All right, what I also want to do right here is run a bead of glue along the edge of this cup. Not a ton. I'm just going to use, got a toothpick up here. And along this side here as well. You can't even really see it that well, but I'm going to do it. This just keeps it from moving, right? I mean, ideally, you're not putting that much pressure on the thing. And once it's all put together, it will hold itself together pretty well. You're just wanting to be able to get it to get back to reassembled without it moving, really is what you're trying to do here. All right, I'm feeling pretty good about all that. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this now. We're right at 20, no, we're almost at 30 minutes again, dang. This always takes longer than I think. So let this glue fully cool and dry. And then when you're sure that it is, I mean, give it like 10 minutes just to make sure. Hot glue didn't take that long to cool off, but just give it some time. And then bring this screw in until it rests on the PCB. Don't try to crank it all the way down, just bring it down until it rests. And then you can reattach your LED ribbon cable. The blue side goes, you'll see the blue side right there. And then the next video, we will go over final reassembly, which basically is going to be making sure that we've got enough slack on this teensy cable. Removing just a tiny bit of material. We're going to need to remove just a little bit of material from right here so we can feed this cable through without pinching it. And then we can just put it all back together and we're done, y'all. We're done. All right, look, you know, I think that glue's dry. I'm just gonna, just for the sake of this, we're just gonna. And really, what you're wanting to do is bring that down, that screw down, so that we can still hit the button. So just tighten it until you can hit the button. There we go. We're good. That sticks on. It ain't going nowhere. Personally, I do not glue down the dome because it snaps into place and it stays pretty well. If you find that it comes off, feel free to glue it, but I tried once and I found it to be messy. I don't, it just snaps into place. There you go. This is basically one solid little unit now. Everything's secured, it's not going anywhere. Super duper cool. All right, y'all. Hope that helps you. Later.